Hey there, welcome back. Checkered Shorts, episode number 58. We're coming to you post race Phoenix, and we're excited to chop it up after a very thrilling race. But before we get into the race talk, history lesson for episode number 58.
Yeah, 1958 Indianapolis 500, won by Jimmy Bryan, I believe. The interesting thing about that, I just actually went to the museum. Pat and I had breakfast with the Indy 500 Breakfast Club this week, and leaving Dawson's, Pat mentioned something about going to the museum and going to the shop, and I was like, hey, you know what? I got an hour. I'm going to run over there. So while he went home, I ran over there and thought, well, history lesson this week is 58. So let me find out about the 1958 500. And they actually have that car on display. And if you remember right, last episode, we talked about Sam Hanks winning the 57 race. Well, Jimmy Bryan won the 58 race in the exact same car. But an interesting tidbit about that car is that the designer engineer on that car at that time, they're really focused on aerodynamics as always. But because of the ride height, he decided in that car, he liked the idea of taking the engine and turning it horizontal to give it a lower center of gravity going through the turns at Indy.
Okay.
So that Offenhauser engine was turned horizontal to give it a lower center of gravity. But that same car with two different drivers won the race in 1957 and 1958. Kind of horrific crash that ended up another, sad story. Killed a driver during that race, but will always be known as the one that Jimmy Bryan won in the Offenhauser two-time winning car.
Very interesting. And then you sent us a picture of the grocery getter that Mrs. Hanks drove for the next 25 years.
It's a pretty nice grocery getter.
Yeah. Good luck finding a parking spot for that thing.
Right, dude.
It's on display, so you should check it out.
You're parking back with the semis in that thing.
All right, so race talk. Phoenix did not disappoint. A lot of things to talk about, but just give us some of your initial thoughts, and then from there we'll chop it up. I think we got some disagreements on a few things that took place during the race.
Early race of the year candidate for me from the start. A lot of side-by-side racing. I would assume that's a record number of passes at Phoenix, maybe across IndyCar history. And it was all through the field, at the front, at the back, in the mid pack. Like, guys were just weaving around all over the place. You had a couple different strategies going on. Just when I rewatched it, I was just as excited and enthralled as I was the first time, just with all the action that was happening on the track.
Yeah, I was nervous at first with Malukas just taking off like a rocket ship. It had I didn't think it'd be like Io, but I was like, oh, what's this race going to be? And it didn't turn into that whatsoever after that first pit stop. So it was a true IndyCar oval to me. It was, Dinwiddie said it all. It was side by side. There was actual passing on the outside, on the inside. Those restarts were awesome. And, it didn't hurt that Plo got wrecked. But, I mean, you don't want to see that. That's not the way you want him to lose. But it made for more interesting things, you know what I mean? I don't know if he would have run the race, but he probably somehow could have, you know what I mean? So don't want to see it like that, but it definitely made for interesting racing overall.
No, it was a great race, fun race to watch, and love the fact that IndyCar made the decision to throw an oval early in the season. I think that helps. It helps bunch up the standings because there are guys that are more dominant on the street and road courses than they are on the ovals. Ovals seem to level the playing field a little bit, especially with Pelot. So I love having the oval early. But you mentioned it, Pat. We're not going to delve deeper or get off track. We're going to come with a big headline. Pelot knocked out of race, and I think there are a lot of different varying opinions on that scenario that went down.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say that Palou got knocked out of the race. I would say Palou knocked himself out of the race. How about that?
So that one I see differently than the Will Power and Rasmussen one.
Interesting.
I think both VK and Rasmussen, they have the charge. They have the eyesight. And if I'm them, I think if I'm an IndyCar driver, if I ever get there, I think I would like to hold back in that position. You are getting squeezed. That race course does get tighter in those corners. And both of those drivers, spotters, no spotters, whatever, I take it's not Pelou's or Will's fault, in my opinion.
I'll disagree with you. And I'll say it this way. I'll say that Alex Palou and Will Power are two of the best drivers in the series, two of the best at finding ways to not let you around. So when you get a run on them, you've got to take it.
Okay, I like that.
And I thought in both cases, that's exactly what happened. They had a run. Keith, I think you sent the text during the race, said, I love having Logano on the broadcast. I thought it was really interesting, the back and forth between him and Hinch and Townsend about kind of different philosophies when it comes to NASCAR and IndyCar. Yeah, that's the way we've kind of always seen it in IndyCar, is if you don't have, if you're not wheel to wheel with the guy, like, you got to back out. Logano, from a NASCAR perspective, said he was there, and the spotter should have said, like, you're not clear. Like, there's somebody, high. You can't go there. And in both cases, Power and Palou went high. I think, and they got it. I mean, I don't know. It did make for great racing. I thought when they had good runs. I'll add kudos to IndyCar and NASCAR for working together, because that made for multi-lane racing. And we didn't need Connor Daly to have to go up there and force a second groove in. It was there from the start, and they use it all day. But no, I think
I don't know. I don't know if it'll weigh the scales of justice anyway at all. But my opinion on the race, or on the incident that went down, was Palou. His reaction on Mike was, I didn't see him at all.
Yes.
And he acted like he made a mistake. Visibly on his face, he was out of the race because he felt like he made a mistake as a driver. But for him to not know and the spotter to not say is kind of odd to me, that that's something they'd miss.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you.
I think Rasmussen's much more at fault than VK.
Oh, I think Rasmussen could have been more patient. He had the faster car.
Right.
He didn't need to go right when he did. I think VK did, because I don't think you get a chance to get around Palou.
And I'll agree with that. VK was, I think, there more than Rasmussen. I thought was reckless. You have a car that can pass everybody 10 times on that track. Just hold on for 2 more turns.
I don't think Rasmussen's comment about Will put him in the wall is accurate either.
No,
I don't think Will was intentionally trying to block.
0%. That was a racing incident on Will's aspect. He was holding his line, didn't know he's there. And Rasmussen was in the wall before that already once. I mean, there might have been more bumping and banging in that the IndyCar race than there was the NASCAR race.
And he almost cut into Dixon's tire.
Yes,
and Patos, if you remember, there was where he Patos rear tire.
Yeah, I get why those guys might not want to race against him. I mean, you could see it on one of those trail cams of whoever Rasmussen was chasing. Like, his car was like physically squirrely. You could see it on the TV. Like, I was like, holy moly. So that I was pretty impressed with that aspect of Rasmussen. But yeah, he's definitely a sketch to race against. It looks like
it's one of those situations where you can't be so frustrated when you end up in the wall, when the way you race lends itself to that. The probability of that happening for him is twice as high as anyone else's, because of the way he's racing on those short ovals.
Well, and we haven't seen anybody. We haven't seen him since Milwaukee. Remember, he crashed first lap in Nashville. So in my eyes, I'm like, okay, Rasmussen, is he really this oval guy, or was he good in Milwaukee? Never saw him in that, but he is that guy. Yeah. After he started doing it, I was like, okay, yeah, this is his bread and butter. So it was cool to see.
I don't know that I've ever seen a guy come through the field in the first
Oh.
half of a race the way he did on a short oval. I mean, we saw it Joseph last year at Indy, but that first half of that race to go from wherever he started, close to 20th all the way to the lead was just super impressive. And like you said, half the laps he was wiggling and sideways and just holding on. So that was really, really talented. We knew it. We've known for a while he's a talented driver, but I think you're right. I think the field is really going to be worried when they come to the next short oval about what they can do.
And obviously, that's the lead into who impressed. But in addition to Rasmussen, all of Penske, I got to say, that team had it together. Particularly Newgarden, the way he charged at the end. I actually we'll have our power rankings in our next episode, but some guys might be getting bigger votes than they've been getting for weeks. Sure. Because that was a very impressive run, and winning at Nashville to end the season and then picking up this win looked great.
Yeah. What was it? 7 to go maybe. And he started to make his moves. He was the only one that could pass like that. Car after car, unless it was tires, it seemed. You're not Kirkwood, I think, did well, but for Newgarden to pass like that, it was a little bit Rasmussen-esque to get to that position. Once he had it, you knew nobody was getting to him.
Yeah, it was interesting. Keith, I know you're a Pato fan. It was interesting that Newgarden and Pato both came out on fresh tires.
Yes, correct.
I really expected Pato to be, when I saw Joseph making that move, I thought Pato will come with him. And for some reason, I don't know I guess maybe the setups were different, obviously, but Joseph was able to make that move and Pato didn't. I
don't know exactly what this means. In the post-race interview, he said he lost the balance.
Okay.
Because he had that charge where he passed about 3 or 4 guys on the new tires, and then the next thing you know, he just faded away. And he said he was just holding it together to hold his place.
That means you're probably loose, I would guess, to where you're gonna lose it if you keep pushing it too much. No, great finish.
Which shows a measure of restraint, because something that his entire career hasn't shown. We thought matured a lot last year, but this is another evidence of, get the points, finish 4th, live to race on another time.
You have to think like that. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned the Penske team. The one guy we didn't talk about is McLaughlin. And I would say the same thing there. It almost seemed to me like he was points racing yesterday, or
I don't know how many times they mentioned him in the broadcast. He was just
like he saw Palou hit the wall, and he was like, "Oh, I just want to finish in the top 5 and get the points and be in this." He really never made a charge. He just kind of sat there all day and cruised around.
And I think Davey I think that's just the nuances of still learning to race a full race, putting it all together. Yes, you're on the best teams. You clearly had the best car to start, but it's a full package, and that's how Newgarden took advantage of it. He's done that a million times, and Davies just has to learn those 1 to 2 more little things race after race to get him into that position. So, but still a good race by him. Nick.
So who disappointed this week?
I can go first there. We just talked a little bit about them, but Arrow McLaren. That would be where I would go. I'd go with all 3 of them. Pato was solid. He was there. Maybe he was just trying to, pull McLaughlin, just get some points. But his 2 teammates weren't even were never a factor.
14 for
Lundgaard was mid-pack all day, and Siegel, again, here we are. Like, I know they start talking about new contracts by May. I'm not sure Siegel's going to make it to March 15th. He and Stingray were back there battling it out all day. So,
I was hoping for more out of Ericsson. A 17th, again, sort of thing. A top 10, I think, would have put him back in a decent conversation with things, but he was the biggest one that stood out to me. I mean, Rasmussen finished 14th. That's because he literally hit the wall twice in like 20 laps and still kept the thing going straight. Santino was 11th. I was actually kind of impressed by that. I didn't think he was going to do that well. So, yeah, it's Ericsson for me is probably the biggest downer.
Yeah, so we our regular segment post race, the shit pit of the week, and this week we have some nominees. There's not a runaway. So the nominees, I think we jotted down: Rossi, Malukas, and Grosjean. Someone will give us some details on each of those.
Well, I can start with Grosjean. I can start. He didn't. When you don't even roll away from the starting grid, because you got another issue with the hybrid, that's pretty tough. I don't know if we can blame that on the crew, but maybe he shouldn't have even been pushed to the starting line if they knew there was that big of an issue.
Yeah, somebody else. I forget. Somebody else had to replace a hybrid. I forget who it was, but I think it was after quals. There's Rossi, who I think they had to retighten a lug, had it up on the rails, and then had to put it back or pat it down, and then had to put it back up on the rails, and then I think Davey stalled, right?
Yeah, Malukas had I think on 2 occasions even he came out of the pits really slow, so had a hard time getting it fired coming out, which, for a guy who finished where he finished, on the podium, who knows what, a couple half-second differences would have made on the track. So,
so Pat, you get to select since it is the Kelly Landscaping
sponsor of this darn podcast. I'm going Malukas. You can't, that's those are positions well wasted. Rossi, what he finished 6th. So that's actually pretty darn good for Rossi, and that's what like an Ericsson needed to do, I think. So they kind of flip-flopped from week to week. But now it's Davey. Team Penske just expects more, and if you're going to live up to that name and that number 12, you got to produce, I think. So Kelly Landscaping shit pit goes to Davey Malukas. Good job, Dave.
So last thing on this episode, give us a little rundown on grid rivals, standings, and
good call.
I think we had some movers this week.
I had lunch with, or I had breakfast with my dad. Then we met my brother and his family. So we spent about 5 minutes going over his. So he is locked and loaded, knows how to do it. But no, 4 of us, well, the 3 of us plus our good friend Ryan Maddox are top 4, and if that tells you anything, we've all 4 played this this before. So
there's a learning curve.
Congratulations to Tink and Tonic. They were our week winner with a total of 656 points this week.
How do you find that?
I found that. Where did I see that? Race Report. If you go to Race Report, Tink and Tonic was 656. Driving with My Feet, who was at the bottom of the standings after last race, finished second this week with 654. And then one of the grid rival users, I'm not sure who that is, was 650. So that was our podium this week. So congratulations to Mr. Chris Tinky for coming in there and getting a week victory at Phoenix.
And I did have a question for someone participating on our grid rivals, and she asked a good question. Does using the prediction feature impact your team in points? And the answer is no. You can do the prediction piece on the app, and that's separate from the league points and standings.
Good point.
All right. So we'll be happy to join you for episode 59. We talk about Arlington, a new track. And a lot of excitement there, a lot of publicity for the race. So we'll be talking about that race in episode 59. We'll see you then.
See y'all.
Yeah.